When did I decide to be a non-selling principal? Welcome back to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, and this is episode 7 of season 2. And this week is looking at when did I decide or when did I know that I wanted to be a non-selling principal? We'll clarify in a second exactly what a non-selling principal is, but we're going to look at when did I decide that, how did that look from the start, and then when did I know it was the right time to become a non-selling principal? So first of all, let's just establish what a non-selling principal is. So a non-selling principal is a owner of a mortgage broker business, mortgage broker firm who doesn't actually advise clients on mortgages themselves, so mortgage and protection. So they don't see clients, they don't conduct fact finds, they don't present, don't sign customers up. They are there purely as running the business and running the firm. That's opposed to a selling principal, which is pretty simple and straightforward. Total opposite. You're still the owner of the business, you're still the owner of the firm. However, as a selling principal, you still advise and make recommendations, see clients, conduct fact finds, and do all the things that mortgage brokers do. So that just clarifies a non-selling principal and a selling principal. So when did I decide that I was going to be a non-selling principal? Well, to be honest with you, I knew that I was going to be a non-selling principal at some stage, even before I set up my firm, even before I started CS Mortgage Solutions and CS Financial Group. I think being a sales manager in the past, in the employed corporate world, working with a team, managing a team of people, it's easier to understand that you will be a non-selling principal at some stage because you're used to not advising. So that is one of the things. You're used to managing a team, working with people, steering the ship, steering the team. Even though you're in the corporate world and you've got a limited amount of freedom and flexibility, you're still leading the team from the front. And being a non-selling principal is leading the team and leading the business and steering the ship. And that's my role. And I knew that was always what I wanted to be. Yes, when we first set up, I was a selling principal. When there was myself and two, three other mortgage brokers in the firm, I was selling. So when from the start, I was selling mortgages because I wanted to experience what the brokers were going to experience being mortgage brokers in my firm and working with the network that we work with. I just didn't want to be someone that was leading and steering the ship and leading the firm and being a business owner without actually understanding truly what the mortgage brokers were going through from a process point of view, from a systems point of view, day to day. So that was sort of quite important to me. So just to clear from the start, I was not a non-selling principal. However, when did I decide? I just knew it from the start. I knew it even before I set up the firm because I wanted to grow the firm. In past podcasts, I've talked about business plans and the importance of business plans, and we won't cover that today. But part of my plan always was to be a non-selling principal. That was always on the cards. That was always part of the plan. Now, the biggest thing and the whole point of this podcast is not establishing when did I decide or how did it look from the start, is really to understand when was the time right to be and become a non-selling principal. And as with anything, and I've talked a lot in the past about timing and you have to doing something or doing something when the time is right. For me, because I knew from the start that I would become a non-selling principal, it's an easier thing. You're more likely to make it happen and you're more likely to seize on the opportunity when the time is right. And the time is right for you and your business and your firm. It's not for everyone. And people will and do want to be sole traders and still want to be selling principals. And I know some amazing, really good quality selling principles, and that works for them, and that's their setup, which is good. And that work, and that, like I say, it works for them, and it's good for their work-life balance, and it's good for their business, which is fine. I'm not saying being a non-selling principle is right or wrong. It just works for me, and it's just something that I always knew that I was going to be and become. Now, the problem you have, there are various reasons why people don't become people who want to be non-selling principles never become non-selling principles and always are selling principles, because they'll always find a reason not to do it. Whereas if it's in your plan from the start, and I know some people who have set up businesses recently, set up business in the past, and it was always part of their plan. I know people that became accidental non-selling principles because their business grew at a rate that they didn't expect it to, and it wasn't something that was on the cards. However, or part of their plan. However, it was something that they had quickly had to adapt to because they found it difficult to run the firm, be the business owner, and work with clients as well and advise on clients. And I think we'll park income for a second, because obviously income is a massive factor in when to decide to become a non-selling principal. But my factor was service, not only from the service from the client's point of view, my clients and the service they were experiencing, but also the service within the business as well. So the brokers in my firm, the brokers in the firm, and the service they were receiving from me. And you get to that point where you could be so focused on service, and it is a very difficult balancing act between delivering on the five-star service you want to deliver to your clients and your clients expect, whether they're clients internally, as in the mortgage brokers, or externally, as a physical, actual clients who need mortgage advice, is getting that balance right. And I knew it got to a point where, from a time point of view, even though I was structured, even though I tried to balance it the best I could, it got to a point where the service to both clients was starting to not be as I expected it to be, and not be what I wanted to be delivering from a service point of view. So from that point there, I knew it was time to flick the switch and then become a non-selling principal and focus on the clients, the internal clients for me and for my business, which were the mortgage brokers, which then enabled me to then focus on those people, making sure that I was playing my part. So my role within the firm quickly changed at that point, because I had more time to focus on the internal clients, focus on business generation, focus on business brand, focus on lead generation, introducers, marketing, all those are the things that I've been balancing and spending half my time on. I could now fully focus on it, because but you will get to that point where you've got to think, actually, do you still continue to service your clients externally and those who need mortgage advice, and get somebody into the business that can service the mortgage brokers internally? However, what I quickly realized, and what I knew, was that the brokers in the firm, my internal clients, joined the business because of me. That's not me being egotistic. That's not me being big headed, but they bought into me, the brand, the culture, the values. And so that's a difficult one, because bringing somebody in so you can still be a selling principal is not ideal in that situation, because they've come into the business because of you. So that was an easy decision for me at that stage, because I'd already made the decision years ago. However, it was that easy decision to sort of say, right, let's flip that switch now. My clients externally got passed to and was dealt with advisors in the firm that I knew and trusted. So I knew that they were going to get the five-star service they expected, and trusted me as well. If they were my clients, they trusted me to then refer them to people within the business, because they knew that I wasn't going to refer them to somebody that wasn't going to deliver on the service that they expected. So it was a win for the client, it was a win for the advisor, and it was a win for me because then I could truly focus on business growth, business generation. And at that point as well, it was, which we'll come on to in other podcasts, about my personal brand as well. And that was important to me. So it gave me more time to work on my personal brand as well, which is what I wanted to do. And this podcast and things like that, it just gave me that flexibility and opportunity to do that. So service, yes, I absolutely love working with the clients. Don't get me wrong. I loved mortgage advising. I loved that. I just couldn't do both. And I realized that fairly quickly. I loved the clients, but I loved my business, and it was my business that I wouldn't say I loved more, but that's the bit that was part of my plan to grow the business. And then when we'll also look at when was the time right, the other thing that stops selling principles become non-selling principles to grow the business is income, because obviously if you're advising, you're getting whatever the network take off, or whatever you do from that point of view is your personal business. However, you get over 100% of whatever comes in. So after the network's taken theirs and you paid it out of the fees and things like that, 100% of what comes in is yours. So you're generally going to make more income from that. However, you've got to think about time and time you're spending. So I realized that and knew that, yes, I'm going to halve my income because I'm now passing it out, paying the advisor, say 50%, because it's a business generated lead. So I'm paying him 50% on that. So it was that, not so much a bitter pill to swallow, but it was a pill to sort of a long term perspective pill to take at that time. So, yes, my income dropped, but I knew that my long term goals was to grow my business. So, I had to take a back step, really, which is not something I do easily. And people that know me know that I always feel I've got to move forward. And I do reflect, I do review, but not looking over my shoulder or looking over my shoulder is not something that I do day in, day out. I'm always looking to the future, what I need to achieve. And that was the point, and that's why I made that decision at that point, was I've got to look to the future. I've got to look for growth. I've got to work with these internal clients who have bought into me and my values. I need to be spending more time with them to help them grow their own business and help them develop themselves and give them support and everything they need. And that's one of the things as well that does frustrate me. So I couldn't, and I've been vocal about this frustration, so I couldn't be a hypocrite and not do it myself, is that business owners selling principles will look to recruit advisors because they think it will help grow the business, but then are not prepared to put the shift in to help and support these new brokers when they're coming into the firm. So that's something also to be mindful of when you're making that decision of growth's great, absolutely, and who doesn't want to feel as though moving forward? But when you're a selling principal and you're thinking, I want to be a non-selling principal, that's fine. You've got to making sure that you're growing with the right people. But if you're looking to grow and still staying as a selling principal, these people that come into your firm need your time. They need your space. They need your help and support to grow their business and feel that they're supported and work with you. Because if you don't, they'll find somewhere else that is supported. So yeah, just to recap on what I've talked about there, when did I decide to become a non-selling principal? Before I even set up my business. It was always part of the plan. So it didn't always look like that. As I said, I was a selling principal at the start. And when was the time right? Well, the time was right when the service was dwindling, shall we say, and it was no longer the five-star service. Quickly adapted, quickly changed it, and then became a non-selling principal very quickly, and took a hit on the income, absolutely, but was looking to grow my business long term, and I was looking at the long-term future with CS Mortgage Solutions and the CS Financial Group. So the takeaway for me on why I made that decision was that if you are going to look at becoming a non-selling principal, be mindful that your income will have a bit of an impact at some stage. However, you're doing it for your long-term growth of your business and for your internal clients as well.